In the past, we always talked about property rights and it was just assumed that we were talking about men. But in the last several years, we've really been saying, no, you have to focus specifically on women because for two reasons. One, we know that when women have access to land and secure rights, there are very different changes, very different financial and economic decisions that are made in the household, which really contribute to better food security for them, their families, and for children. So we know that focusing on women's property rights really gets us a huge bump or an added effect in terms of achieving our economic development goals. So that's been a huge development. And in a lot of countries now, we're really focusing on a woman's name has got to be on a title, a woman's name has got to be on the deed for the house, et cetera, et cetera.
And that's actually a pretty easy, practical
approach,
right?
It's a really easy solution.
Have the line on the paper.
And it's one of those things where we think, well, why weren't we doing that 10 or 20 years ago? The other thing I want to talk about, and this applies to both men and women, and this is something that Steve and I have talked about before, and it's a case, which I know both you and Carol, both Steve and Carol are familiar with, is Namibia. And the reason why I want to mention Namibia is because we talk a lot in USAID about these kind of what I call corporate arrangements. Mm-hmm. So I like to think of communities actually as corporations, right? They own, everybody in the community, the family, the men and the women, everybody owns a share in the resources and the land and the assets that community has control over. So when I think about trying to link that corporation up with another outside investor, or maybe it's somebody, it's domestic or it's international, I think about, okay, that's a corporate structure. This is a corporate structure. How do we improve their rights or secure their rights so that these can come together in ways that are profitable for both sides, rather than thinking of them as individuals and without power or without the ability to negotiate or defend their rights.
Right. So building the capacity of those corporations, those new sort of corporate models to engage with investors is critical.
It's fundamental, and that's something that we're experimenting with at AID.